Follow me on twitch.tv Okami Riku for live streams, and the PAX Hunt on both Twitter and Instagram. Alright everybody, it is Riku, so we are actually going to do our first Howlsome review of Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. This is a game that released several years ago on some older systems, and I played it back then, and I haven't played it since it came out back then. And I have been given the opportunity to review Re-Reckoning thanks to Terminals IO by Evolve. They gave me a code for review, so this is a sponsored review of the game. So what we're going to do is review the game. I have my own rating system that we're going to go through step by step, and then there will be some live streams of Re-Reckoning after I finish my playthrough of another game. I will post when those live streams will be happening on the YouTube channel, so just keep an eye out for that when it goes out. So that way if you want to see it live, you can do that. And then also I'm going to be making some YouTube videos of me playing through it as well. So there will be two different ways that you can see more of the content in case you want to see more of it before purchasing the game. But I personally, this game is great and it's worth the money, and we'll go through how I have deemed that the case. So to start, we are going to go through my different criterias. The first one is story. So this game I have given a 2 out of 2 out of my own system of rating for the story. And that's because even though I played this game many years ago when it first came out, playing it again, this game has it where I still want to... The story drives me to want to see the game through to the end and see what happens with my character and the world around her when playing the game. So even though I played it many moons ago, here it is again, driving me to want to see what happens at the end of the game. Not only that, the leveling system has a great mechanic that gives you the ability to focus on specific areas, and it influences how you go through the game. So for instance, if you don't increase your persuasion skill, you won't be able to persuade people in certain parts of the game, which right here you'll see the leveling area and what it looks like and how it works. And then during this video you'll see that there was a point where I needed persuasion and I only had a 75% way of persuading the person, and unfortunately that's 25% more than I would like for it to end, to work. So I went a different route. But so if you don't invest in certain skills, it does impact you in points of the game, which influences the story and how things play out. Because if you can persuade someone to do something, it usually has a more beneficial outcome than if you can't persuade them. Case in point will be where I failed my persuasion in this. So the leveling system gives you a lot of mechanics. You can also choose different pathways. Every time you level up, you can go through and choose a different way. So depending on where you put your skills in the leveling system, you have different fates, and those fates influence the damage you can do with spells or daggers or blades. So depending on which one you choose and where you put your skills in the tree, it'll influence also how your character plays with certain weapons and such in the game. So it has a really big impact on the story, the way you level your character through it. So all of those choices impact the story, which is why I give it a 2 out of 2. It's just that the story has so many things that influence it that it can impact how things play out in a positive or negative manner. The next mechanic for me is accessibility / mechanics. And what this means for me is that, are the controls easy and are they accessible for people with disabilities? One thing I've seen as someone who is disabled and also part of disability communities where I get to see what people comment on, is one of our biggest pet peeves is controller support for video games. I played this on the PS4, so it automatically has controller support. I have also looked into it on the PC, and PC has controller support. So the accessibility and mechanics of the game gets a 2 out of 2 for me because there is that controller support aspect. Plus, the controls are actually pretty easy. There's nothing really hard, and also the different weapons work differently, so it's actually pretty easy for you to find a weapon mechanic that works best for you, especially if you have a disability, for you to work with it. So that, worked in the favor of this particular requirement that I have for games, is it's going to be easy and accessible for other people, especially those with disabilities, since there is currently a battle going on in that community where some games don't come out with controller support on PC, yet for people with disabilities like me, I can't use mouse and keyboard because it hurts my hands, so I need controller support. So unfortunately, with my disability, if it doesn't have controller support, I don't buy it, because you can download these softwares that let you do controller support, but they don't always work, and sometimes it's finicky and flawed. Whereas I think in this day and age, with our technology and the accessibility and capabilities of video games, it should automatically have controller support. That's just my opinion in that matter, but it does influence how I rate a game. So aside from the fact that it has controller support, I didn't find too much wrong with the mechanics, other than there is one flaw that is hard for someone like me, which is that sometimes when you're running and sometimes when you're in combat, the camera will glitch into a weird angle, and even if you try to move it out of it with the camera control, it won't move, or when you're running, it's hard to change your camera view when you're using your right hand to press the run button, which is the X button on the PlayStation, as well as use the left analog stick to control your movement while running, and then you can't really control the camera because your right hand is already busy pressing the X button to run. But that's a here and there flaw. It doesn't always happen, but it happens every once in a while. So I didn't let that impact the scoring too much, since it's not a constant problem, but it is a notable problem, is that sometimes when you're running or in combat, the camera will kind of glitch off in weird directions. Our next category, I call it direction, which means, does the game help you and direct you with proper information or mechanics that help you know where you're going and what you're doing? I made this a category because there are some games where a person will tell you what you need to do, but then there's nowhere in the game to remember what you need to do, and that's really hard for people with disabilities such as memory problems, which I also suffer from. So this game got a 1 out of 2, and that's just because they do have great direction. The quests that they give you, you can see all the quests on the map. If you have a quest selected, it's in yellow, and then all other quests are in white. The only reason why I docked at a point, though, is that if for some reason an NPC dies in the game, and it's related to your quest, there's no way to delete the quest from your list. There's no way to get rid of it. And that's a problem, because for someone like me who has a memory problem, that kind of makes it hard for me. Like, I'll keep on going back to it and forgetting that I can't do it because the guy's dead, but yet the character, like his icon for where the quest is still there. So like you can see him on the map and you can go up to him, but you can't initiate or talk with him because he's dead. And his body stays there too. And the body only stays there if the quest is accepted. I happened upon a character who died, and since I already found this one glitch character, I didn't initiate with her, and then her body disappeared. I haven't seen her again or nothing like that, so I assume that quest is unavailable, seeing how she died. But I do have this one quest that I'm stuck with. You can see the part where I came up, destroyed all the spiders, and freed the town, but the guy accidentally died, and I talked to him. I accepted the quest, and then I keep on going back to him. That is referenced here in the video right now, and that is just the reason why I docked it. It's because I have this quest that I keep forgetting that I can't complete. So it becomes a problem for people who do have memory problems, because if you're like me and you kind of play a couple of games at a time, when you go back to another game, you completely forget that, hey, I can't do this quest. Other than that, it gives you clear directions and where to go, but you'll just be stuck with a certain direction if you accept a quest and the NPC dies for one reason or another. My other category is known as flow, which means, does the game flow? Does the story flow? Does it all connect, or is it choppy and disconnected? Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning has a great flow. Everything is connected, and you can't really miss the main storyline because there's only so many side quests in a particular area of the storyline. Then you need to move back to the storyline. So it all flows together and it moves in a direction towards the end of the game. You're not going to get lost in a whole bunch of side quests and completely forget about the main storyline. So that's why it got a 2 out of 2. Our last category is cost per playtime. So what this means is, does the game cost at least $1 per hour or less? So in the United States, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning costs $40 for the regular edition and $55 for the Fate edition. So this game has about 60 to 80 hours of gameplay, depending on if you do all the side quests, and depending on how much time you spend on crafting and breaking materials down. So either way, even with 60, it comes right under the dollar mark with $55, sorry. So for $55 and it's 60 hours of gameplay, it's still under $1 per hour, which is why it gets 2 out of 2, because to me, a game has to have at least as many hours per dollar in order for it to be affordable and worth the price. If it's more than that, to me, I'm spending a little too much. There are some games where I've spent that money, and yeah, the story and the gameplay outweighed the cost a little bit, but the cost per hour is still very important to me as someone who tries to budget and has a very limited budget for the games that we play and cover. So these are the categories for it, and the end score is a 9 out of 10, which is really good for a game. You know, there was only that one particular flaw that made me dock a point. So, you know, if you can look past that particular flaw, it'll be a 10 out of 10 for you. Just, I can't look past a mechanic that has me wasting time going back to something just because I couldn't remember that it's glitched. So outside of that, the game is a wonderful, great game. I recommend it for anybody to grab if you have the chance. Remember, for me, the graphics don't matter. So you'll find that yes, it has old graphics, and yes, it doesn't have some of the things that we enjoy in newer games, like the great detail to facial expressions, stuff like that, but that's not what matters in a game. For me, what matters in a game is the gameplay. So as long as it plays well, runs well, it's perfect and fine. So, I mean, of course, for everybody that's going to be different, but this is how we categorize and express the rating system. Sorry, I'm having a slight brain fart at the moment. So just remember that when you're looking at our Howlsome reviews, the graphics don't have any play in our rating system. It all comes down to the story and the mechanics of the game. So if graphics are a problem for you, of course that's your choice. But I do hope that with this review and future reviews that you guys like it enough to come back for more, because we will be reviewing some other games. On the docket right now that I'm working on is Summer and Mara for the Switch. I'm also working on Vigor for the Xbox One, Darksiders Genesis, which I have on PS4. Interesting little take on the Darksiders. And then we're also going to find Deep Sky Derelics and Convoy, a tactical roguelike, as well as Beyond Blue. These are all in the working, so if any of those games are of interest to you, keep an eye out, because they will be having coverage here soon on the PAX Hunt. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you pick up Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning and you have anything down below, go ahead and post comments, tell me what you thought of the game. If you're having any troubles in the game with something, let me know and maybe I can cover it. Until next time though, I hope you guys stay happy, healthy, and always be wholesome, my lovely pups.